Bloom. So, Bloom is the musical equivalent of a warm, sunny day, kind of like sunlight peering through a window, sun's going down, it's nice, it's warm, it's cozy, and it is a song about hope. I love everything to do with hope. Hope is everything. And this is the hope that is created by everything else that came before it. So every track that came before it, whether it was written before or after Bloom, it kind of, for me, leads to this. And you'd given me this track, and again, it was really quite different because it was an acoustic guitar, whereas the vast majority of the other stuff had been piano-based and guitar, electric guitar-based, and this one was appealed very, very much to my acoustic, likes. I like a lot of Damien Rice and Ben Howard. City and Colour often has a lot of acoustic guitar, and I really, really like that type of music. And this, for me, was the opportunity to really document the legacy that is left by everybody, whether they're here or they're not. And I wanted to try and create something lyrically that was almost like a letting go. So an opportunity to kind of go, right, this is the... if persistence is about carrying on, this is really about being able to move on to an extent. And take all the lessons that have been learned through everybody that you meet, and then change it into something positive and hopeful. And that's where Bloom comes from. We actually had a title which was really quite what's the word? Quite aujourd'hui, which was Rust and then semicolon Bloom, because there's a line within the track that says Rust is settled in, and it was almost like me accepting that kind of like once things are a little bit bad, then it's quite easy for that to grow a little bit unless you deal with it. And this was the idea that something that was quite rustful could still bloom into something that would be positive. And Bloom, obviously, again, going back to that organic theme of flowers and life, and a flower blooming is, often what is regarded as beautiful and the peak of its existence. So this is about letting that grief go. There's a line in the chorus, I want to call it the chorus.
I don't know if it has a chorus.
That just says, release you to the setting suns and moons. And that's the idea of kind of keeping someone with you, but also letting them go. And that happiness and promise has been given more value by having that person in your life. So by having them as a part of you and guiding you and guiding you through the lessons that they have done, is that all the happiness and the promise that you experience after that point should be given more value because they made that more important through whether it's through what they taught you, whether it's through just not being there. But it's almost like everything is enhanced past that point because of that person. So this is kind of not necessarily the full stop, maybe the full stop to this chapter.
Yeah.
But kind of the full stop of going, okay, it's not all bad. There's positive in everything, and this is the light, warm feeling. It's basically like a cuddle for your ears. A little bit. It's like a big cuddle for your ears after you've done a big ugly cry, and you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know why I knew when I kind of put it together. I'm like, right, well, this is the last song. I'm trying to think if there was something that potentially steered me down that path. If like there's an album I like where the last song has a similar kind of vibe, but nothing's coming to me right this second. It might do. I mean, it's not as if I want to keep anything secret. I've basically told you everything that I've nicked from, and I'm not about to stop now. Yeah, one of the things I do, or at a certain point in the band's or the project's kind of existence, one of the things I had a lot of at one point was a lot of time. Coming out of a long relationship, I had a lot of time to myself, so I tended to play a lot of guitar. It's just one of the pastimes to do. Even though I'm not a guitarist per se, it's easy to play a guitar at 10 o'clock at night rather than kick crap out of a drum set, especially if when you've got a little girl sleeping a couple of rooms away. So I tend to just kind of, I tend to play along to a lot of songs I like. I want to say this is like my going through my You and Me phase. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Potentially, I mean, I know we listened to them a lot.
Yeah.
At one point, I mean, still do, but at one point we were really we talked about doing covers and we used to jam them out in rehearsals and all sorts.
Yep.
So potentially that's what inspired the acoustic. I'm not sure. Maybe I just wrote that riff on acoustic because I tend to. It's easy just to pick up the acoustic rather than plug in all your guitars and effects pedals and amps and all that stuff. And again, if it's something you want to do quiet, I usually have an acoustic about somewhere. I used to have one downstairs, but everyone in my bedroom. So I probably liked the sound of it and thought, well, I'm not going to change it because if I put it on an electric guitar, it wouldn't necessarily, or it just sound like the rest of them. Yeah. And I knew that this was going to be the last one, and maybe to do something a little different. So yeah, the intro kind of riff thing, I don't really know what inspiration came from that. Maybe just found it and just playing around and stuff. There's a lot of kind of anybody who plays in like drop D tuning will always play those kind of sus chord things where you put your little finger on. So it's got a lot of them in, but I like playing them quite a lot. And yeah, it's very simplistic. Again, it's the formula. We'll have to start calling it the KMRS formula from here on out. It's section 1, section 2 is big. Yeah. Or it's section. I guess it's section 1 and 2, then section 1 and 2 repeated, and then big ending. Big. So Passenger's got a big ending. Aridity's got a big ending. Tide. Quiet kind of, yeah. Ish. Probably a few others. I mean, Machine and stuff's kind of all the way through. But yeah, definitely kind of falls within that niche. It's not our niche, it's just that niche that kind of is what we do. And there are a couple of things. Since being super young, I've always loved the track Albatross by Fleetwood Mac. If you don't know it, it's the one on those really sexy Sainsbury's adverts or Marks and Spencer's. This isn't real beef or whatever. It's that kind of, it's that dual guitar thing. And I remember seeing the video on like VH1. What was that music channel called?
Yeah, VH1.
Yeah. I remember seeing it as quite a young kid, maybe like 8 or 9. And I just loved it. I mean, it's got no vocals in it. It's just trudging away. It's got lots of lead guitar, lots of like dual lead guitar in it. And it's always stuck with me. I always like kind of playing with stuff like that. That kind of Thin Lizzy, dual guitar, harmony kind of idea. So I knew we were going to have that in it. I just didn't know where. And then you were playing No Man's Sky a lot at that point.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah, a band called 65 Days of Static did the soundtrack. And you like the song Asimov.
Yes, absolutely love that track.
Which again has a similar vibe. It's this idea where it's a lot of percussion and it's very kind of shoegaze-esque and very just, a lot of...
quite industrial drums.
A lot of reverb, a lot of kind of... It's just this big kind of machine percussion-esque thing. Yeah. So there is some kind of repetitive, like, machine-type drums. There's the big kind of toms and snare fill laid in reverb. But again, I thought it's too obvious just to have this really big kind of heavy guitar coming in. So it's weird that the drums come in really hard and heavy and you've got a bit of ambient guitars in there, but, the acoustic's still going through, and then you just have that lead line, which again isn't anything super saturated in distortion. It's there, but it's... So for me, it's a song that has such this impactful big ending without it going down the kind of rocky, heavy, like we've done with a few of the other tracks. Not to their discredit, it just stands apart. So yeah, we're like, right, well, I need to make this ending really kind of, big and produced and like I say, industrial and stuff. And And then that were kind of it for the longest time, really. It just kind of did that. I think it probably faded out. I'm not sure originally.
Yeah.
Because again, this was written probably around a similar time as Heredity, and then we didn't write anything for a while. Because the kind of album were done at that point, and like I said we lost a track. We chose not to use a track because it would have been meh. And Tell and Passenger kind of came along.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was written kind of in the midst of most of them.
I almost writ. As you can tell, my English is incredible.
Such a good lyricist as well.
I know, amazing. There's no wonder why I have to have like dictionary up when I'm writing.
That's fine.
When I'm written. I think I wrote Heredity and this almost back to back.
Right.
I think they were literally a day apart from one another.
Yes.
If I remember rightly. The ending came much later. The ending only came when I was recording this version of it, because I knew in the big section that Rich just explained, I didn't want any vocal in that because it's just such a... Asimov is such a great example because it's just that. I mean, Asimov is in the entire album, the No Man's Sky soundtrack, it's all instrumental, there's no vocal on it at all. And I love that because sometimes I think the music, especially with how beautiful the music that you'd crafted was, it just needs to sit. And sometimes I'm not a big fan of kind of having vocals over everything. I like to try and let some things sit. But then I was kind of thinking about ending the album, and I got a massive list together of different synonyms for what persistence means, and it was everything from consistency, I can't even remember, perseverance I think is in there, just all these different variations of the word, and again I must really like that radio function. I think it's just because I've got such a broad Yorkshire accent that I needed to squish it a little bit. I
just assumed you did that because persistence was done in that manner, and because you were using the same words as persistence, it would just, if you think of it, if you were like, it's the same. If it's a voice that said persistence, maybe it's the same voice saying this.
Let's just say
without getting too kind of up his own asses,
Let's say
that's what I assumed. That's why I didn't change it. That's why again you sent me the thing and I just went right, boom, just put it straight in, didn't tweak or anything.
I often just don't think about these. They just kind of happen. Maybe it's happening.
You can't. Otherwise, you sound like a right
behind the scenes.
If there's any kids, sorry, prick. You sound like a right ass, don't you? If you're like, oh well, yeah.
But I got all these different variations of the word, different synonyms, and then just spoke them over the ending. And then the last one being survival, which is the last word of the track, which is obviously what we're all obviously trying to do, even more poignant at this moment in time. But I think survival has, again, many more connotations than just staying alive. Obviously, that's its most primal. But survival can mean many different things emotionally. And I think that just fed in really well into the rest of the album. So, yeah, it was just literally me with a list of... God, I don't know how many there is. I actually got rid of some of them as well.
It's at least like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I think including survival, because they kind of bounce from the left to the right ear as well. So I think there's an even number of them, and survival's bang down the middle.
Yeah. But yeah, just wanted to kind of end it on something that would draw in the ear, but not anything vocally, because I wanted the music to just take centre stage.
Yeah, like I said, that was the last thing to really do. I think, as I said in the last, in the Persistence track, the idea was to always have Bloom as the last track, and my idea were always to kind of, whether Bloom faded out, I'm not sure, but is to actually have the intro piano riff to Quiet happening. I always had this idea of like, we're in a happy moment, but it's not always going to be happy. And I thought, at the time, being a cynical old sod, I was like, yeah, well, like life is pain. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're in this happy period, but obviously something's going to happen. And even though that might be real, that might be actually, that is what life is. But when I did it, I was like, it just feels so like, can we not just have this kind of, you know, can we not have this full stop and like, right, it's happy, or we're happy, or they're happy. It's like, we're happy right now. We can address it next time. You know, the next album, we can address other things.
Yeah.
And having that kind of intro riff and it's like, oh, it's just this loop. It just
didn't feel right.
It just undercut the idea that we just done this song about hope and this song about kind of, you know, moving on, like you said, and then it's like, oh, but you can move on all you want, but it's crumbing, it's creeping. And I thought that's just too bleak, even for me. You know, so yeah, it was just going to play that little outro riff, and again, that little outro riff on the guitar is a very hopeful thing. It's a very major sounding thing, which is very unlike me. And then when the vocal stuff came across, I was like, great, you know, let's put them on. And then again, the last word, whether you intend, I'm guessing you must have intended it because again, I popped it straight into the session. I didn't change. I didn't go, oh, let's change these words around.
Yeah.
I don't think. Did I cut a few out? I'm not sure.
I think there was a couple.
I think we might have cut a few out.
Because there was a lot.
But it were like, well, the album's called Persistence. That means one thing. The last track's called, the last word you hear is survival. It's like, well, chuffing out. Well, that's meant to be in it. We totally meant that. It's got all these, you know, mirror images of life and society. And I'm like, that's just perfect. Let's just keep it like that. Survival, boom. And then next one, first word might be, oh my God, like, what have we done? Or something more bleak.
I think the first line of the next album will be, don't worry, we are okay.
Yeah, but...
we're okay, hun.
But it's one of my favourite things to say. I mean, I got it off Shaun of the Dead when they always bump into each other. Like, how are you doing? Like, we go, oh, surviving.
Yeah. And
it's something I always say because, you know, they're always like, oh, people say, it's fine. Are you really fine? And so when people say, how are you doing, Rich? I always go, oh, surviving. Because, again, it has a connotation of, well, I'm getting on with it. Yeah. I'm not just settled. I'm getting on. I'm moving past. I'm trying to move past whatever it is that I need to move past. So I just like to use the word. I like the word surviving as just a way of saying there's forward motion. Yeah. So yeah, you know, like we could have ended the album on we could have ended the song on you saying persistence. Yeah. We could have ended the song on you saying ceaselessness, which I was like. There's a lot of ceaselessness. Oh yeah. I like that one. I can't remember half of the words I've listened to it a million times in mixing it and all that, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Consistency.
You say hold on at one point, I think.
Yeah, hold on, carry
For
on.
one more day, carry on.
Oh yeah, I had to get that Wilson Phillips.
So yeah, we could have had carry on. We could have had any of those words at the end, but survival. Just again, it was one of those where it's like I never said do this, but in doing it's like, well, that's the thing I didn't know I wanted it to do. I wanted it to do that, but I maybe couldn't express that to you in any way. So it did it. And then that, because I always knew that was going to be the last song, that kind of caps the album, and that's what I wanted people to kind of, if you manage to get to the end, if you manage to get to the end, I'll just skip to this song. If you're not feeling like you want to go through an emotional
maybe
roller coaster.
Do it in chunks. Yeah. Maybe do a couple of tracks a time, and then go listen to some party anthems just to bring you out of it.
Yeah, but I definitely wanted people to be like, right, album's finished. Oh. Ooh, there's some sketchy stuff in there, but I'm feeling like a new day is dawning. Yeah. You know, old Celine Dion, a new day dawns, calls, whatever she says. And yeah, you know, like whatever happens from here on out, because one of the things that I'm sure most people are aware of is, and you know, I've obviously said this a few times, is there was never any intention behind this. It started off with me looking at someone going, I really need that person to be active. I need people to hear. Kind of Kylie in her element, and if no one's going to step up and do something, I guess I'm going to kind of have to throw my hat into the ring. So it started like that, and each one it was like, right, we'll knock that one out of the park, knock that one out of the park. Like, oh, let's see how far we can take it. And this, you know, we've obviously stopped at this point and not done anything just because we knew we needed to get this stuff sorted.
Needs setting free. That's what it needs setting free.
But you know, this isn't necessarily a band, you know, as such. I guess you'd more call it a project. Yeah. You know, the times we have played, it's acoustic based, which going forward, it's going to be super difficult to play some of this stuff acoustic. I mean, we always manage with the older stuff, but I don't know how it's going to translate. So, you know, there's no major intentions of doing this thing live as such. I mean, it's not that I'm not open to the idea. It's just it needs to be done right. I'm happy for this to just be like just basically us dealing with the demons in musical form. It's like, right, well, if nothing else, that's us. That's our snapshot in time. That's our time capsule.
Yeah.
We can kind of not bury it, but we can kind of put it to rest, and then we'll look what the next idea brings. But it's been a slog.
Yeah.
It's been welcomed. It's been the alternative to going in a few different directions, but without doing that whole kind of cliche stuff. Like it was a way to exercise everything that kind of needed to be said, or thankfully, being as close of friends as we are, it was always a shared experience anyway. So any loss was always shared, and it's like, right, well, let's us document this. Let's us get past this by putting it in song or memorializing this thing, or for two people who've effectively all we've tried to do is colour in a bit of silence. We've just been like, right, we don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, we don't know what we want out of this. All we know is we like making music, and we want to put some stuff down because it feels good and it feels nice, and working together has been pretty easy at times. Diva.
That's just rich.
My demands are always high. It was like, right, let's just do what we want. And again, it's been nice that it's taken 5 years, and I do look back at those songs and go, oh bloody hell, yeah, I remember that. And I mean, I've said a few times my memory is not great, but so yeah, whatever the future holds, I don't honestly know. If you do check out the album, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for listening.
If you pick up on all my mistakes, you're welcome, because I've not tried to hide them. If any of the references we've mentioned pique your interest, then go listen to the people I blatantly stole off. Give them a few Spotify listens to, give them a bit of pennies. And if you're interested in anything more, then I'm sure there'll be information about on the website, SoundCloud, Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah.
Just get in touch. Let us know if you like it. If you don't, please don't let us know. As you already gathered, we are quite fragile human beings. I'm not sure that we could probably take that. So if you could just keep your negative views to yourself, any positive ones, please share with us and anybody else that you...
Yeah. If you say anything bad about the music, you better be a perfect human being, because I will focus in on your insecurities like no one. I'm going to be like an assassin, I tell you.
And I guess for me, with this, I'm completely where you're at as well. Whatever will be. I am just grateful that you took a chance on...
Don't say it's an episode.
I know, I dare. I'm scared now. That you.
This
took
is
a
us
chance
deflecting our feelings towards each other.
Me. No, took a chance in writing music with me, because honestly, I'm not sure with the confidence and stuff that I had at the time whether I would have written... or it may have taken a long time for me to write something, and it's ended up being, one of, it's been a constant in our lives for the past five years, in the most nicest kind of way, because there's been so many times that things have cropped up and I've kind of gone, oh, I really want to write about this for KMRS, so I'd love to do a cover of this in a KMRS style, and it's always been in that kind of back of my mind. I've not really had that with other musical projects as such. This one has been, like I say, it's just like a constant, so I'm really grateful to yourself and writing music together. It's almost like we both appeal to each other's strengths and weaknesses. I'm crap at writing music.
I'm crap at writing music.
No. Not at all. I'm crap at writing music, but I can occasionally write really sad lyrics. So it's been nice to work with someone who literally provides me with incredible music, and I just kind of cry over the top of it, which has happened on numerous occasions. So yeah, thank you to that. Thank you for listening. To anyone who still is listening, you're a warrior.
I won't be if I were you.
No.
I'm not going to listen to this when I edit it to put it up on Spotify. So yeah. So thank you. So yeah, KMRS out.
Oh.